Hola, I'm here to tell you the 5 reasons why you need to add Viola Davis Finding Me memoir to your reading wish list immediately. My name is Adriana Riaño, and a few years ago I started to read more. And I'm doing this purposely in an effort to escape a world where I feel there's a lot of misinformation that is really dividing us and creating a world that is centered on hate instead of love. And that feels like it's the main driver. I have spent the last decade of my life working in the social sector, specifically in the hunger relief efforts and diversity, equity, and inclusion. I am a wife, a mother, I am an immigrant, I am Latina. My pronouns are she, her, ella, and I am here to share my curious, not resting mind with you in an effort to question the norm and inspire you to live more joyfully, fulfilling, healthy, and authentically. I have been obsessed with the power of communication and language for years. I deeply admire those who have the gift or have grown the skill to communicate effectively. And when I say effectively, I mean in a way where your message is clearly understood, that it produces an effect of action, deep thinking, connection, and even persuasion. The more impactful communicators that I hear, the more I am drawn to the power of storytelling. Many of you may know or remember Viola Davis from the incredible actress that she is, from films like Fences, The Help, The Woman King, Suicide Squad, and the show How to Get Away with Murder, among many more. Before reading her memoir, Finding Me, I already thought of her as an incredible actress, just super talented. But after hearing her story, I think of her more as an inspiration, an example of perseverance, resilience. And that's why I have 5 reasons for you to read that book immediately.
Reason number 1.
It is a great story. The storytelling format of this memoir is perfect. It is vivid, descriptive, easy to follow, and deeply, deeply engaging. I was hooked from the very first chapter. My preferred way of reading is through Audible at the same time as reading the hard copy book. I have a double vision issue, and I also get easily distracted in my thoughts. So having 2 of my senses focused on the book and listening to the book really gives my eyes an easier time reading. Why am I telling you this? Because the narrator of the Audible is Viola Davis herself. And wow, her skills and training as an actor really come to life through the narration. I recommend the Audible version as much as the hard copy. Reason number 2. This book provides a deep understanding of what extreme poverty can really look like. Several themes emerge throughout her story that bring vivid examples of the struggles of poverty and racism. If you're a person like me, who was raised in a middle-class household, always had food on the table, and had access to the basics like hygiene products, clean water, heat, soap, etc., you will find her experience unacceptable, unimaginable, and heartbreaking. This story will hopefully do for you as it did for me, is to help us start with empathy as we navigate our world. In the book's first chapters, Viola describes how she and her sisters peed on the bed throughout the night because they lived in an apartment that was full of rats. They had a massive infestation of rats. There was no electricity or water, and going to the bathroom in the middle of the night meant risking facing the rats and getting bitten. So instead, she and her sisters will sleep and cover themselves head to toe while hearing the squeaky noises that rats make while they eat pigeons or whatever else they could find throughout the night. As a result, they will go the next day to school smelling like pee, which, as you can imagine, will make them the perfect targets to be bullied and discriminated by their fellow students and even teachers. The kick for me here is that at one point, all of the siblings get sent to the principal's office due to the many complaints from the classmates and even teachers about their bad odor. I can't imagine how a 9-year-old kid will feel going through this. I mean, the shame, the humiliation, just horrible. The school's solution was to send them to the school's nurse and provide them with lessons and hygiene education. The school's way of addressing the issue was to educate them on personal hygiene. At no point did anyone at the school bother to ask about their home situation. Did they have soap, access to water, heat, clothes, food, etc.? They assumed that Viola and her sisters were choosing to smell bad and stay dirty. Reading this for me was incredibly frustrating and infuriating. Honestly, how often have you gone about judging someone for a similar reason and jumping to assumptions and solutions with zero empathy or compassion? I know I have done it in the past, and as I read Viola's memoir, it made me reflect immediately and regret it and feel sad about the pain that I might have caused in my past.
Reason number 3.
Education about racism and how it plays out throughout her life. The center of the story is around Viola in the 3rd grade. She runs home at the end of every school day to escape a group of white boys in her class who chase her. They target her for being black, and they scream racist insults to her as they chase her. She runs home every day to avoid getting brutally beaten up by them. But inevitably, one snowy day, they finally catch up to her. I don't want to spoil the book too much, so I will let you read the rest of the scene on your own. But there are a couple of things here that I want to highlight, and hopefully it will bring value as you read this story. The first one is that I immediately questioned the boys chasing Viola. Why do they do that, right? Like, who taught them to hate black people, to pick on black people? Racism is learned. It is something that is modeled and exists implicitly and explicitly in our daily lives. We must take accountability for what we repeat or model for our children or the people around us. How are we referring to or regarding other people who look different than us? What message is it sending? What harm is it creating? Or what harm can it create? Second, the long-lasting effect of this incident on Viola is tremendous. The white kids chasing Viola probably think of the incident as something they did as kids, a prank, something that they probably don't think about much. But for Viola, this incident shaped so much of who she was. It created deep, long-lasting trauma. Later in the book, she talks about how during a conversation with Will Smith while on the set of Suicide Squad, she realizes that deep inside, she's still that little girl, that little black girl running because these boys hated her because she was black. It is also worth mentioning here that many instances where Viola gets rejected for being black for the different roles. She talks about the black women that actually get the roles are not too dark, their hair is not too nappy, and they are closer to what white people find appealing. And that didn't describe her. She also talks about her training in the Juilliard School of Arts and how bored and disengaged she was. Everything they were teaching about art and film was based on a white European art culture that she just didn't fit in. I reflected on this through our cultural norms, the things we seek to achieve based on what we are told. A lot of the time, there are better routes than these paths we are supposed to follow. We do not fit into them. We must recognize that humans are different, and our paths to success and happiness and joy must also be different. For example, pursuing the best college or seeking a corporate job at Google or Apple. The thing is that when a lot of the times when you arrive there, you might realize that the place is not as good as you thought. That you might not feel value, or you simply don't belong. When Viola went to Africa, she found a deeper meaning, a deeper connection to the arts from her Black roots that inspire her much more than any of the teachers or lessons at the Chilean School of Arts. For me, this was an excellent teaching that this book left me with.
Reason number 4.
Mental health and healing. Throughout this book, there are profound examples of healing, and Viola openly talks about her trauma and her constant work on herself through therapy. She shows us by the way she expresses herself regarding her parents. When she tells her dad's story, it always comes from a place of love, forgiveness, and empathy. Throughout the book, Viola shares the abuse her dad put her mom through for many years and the strong effect it had on her miserable childhood and that of her sisters. Yet she never judges him, and as time goes by, forgives him and loves him. I also see her healing through her conversations with her mother. She tells us that she wants to spend as much time with her as possible now that she's older, because she recognizes that every minute is not guaranteed. She asks her ma many questions. She asks if she had an affair. She asks why she didn't leave her dad. And as hard as she tries, it is almost impossible to get her to a vulnerable place. It is impossible to get those emotions out of her ma, as she calls her, and to have her, let her guard down. Her ma has not allowed herself to feel, and most likely blames herself for everything that she went through. Again, Viola doesn't do this from a place of judgment, but more from a place of love. She wants to free her mom from the pain, blame, and shame, but she also recognizes that it is so deep that she may never see that liberation.
Reason number 5.
This book is a gift of vulnerability and inspiration. I deeply admire Viola's bravery and courage in sharing her story. It is hard to speak about the challenges, barriers, and intimate moments that shape who we are and who we become. There's one chapter where Diane, Viola's older sister, is talking with her. She must have been around 9 or 10 years old around that time. And in this conversation, Diane asks Viola what she wants to be, or what her plan is. She says, and I quote, "You don't want to live like this when you get older, do you?" The deeply moving part for me was her self-reflection at this moment. She shares that it had never occurred to her that there could be a way out, and goes deeper into self-questioning. How do I become somebody? And then she says, wait, am I nobody now? What do I have to do to be worthy? These questions lead her to find her passion and later recognize the art and theater are indeed her way out. Her journey throughout her career is not glamorous or straightforward. Instead, is full of closed doors, hard work, persistence, mentors, relationships, and a constant reminder that the color of her skin is always between her and the next big role. I have one bonus reason why you need to read this book: the connection with the charity world and Viola's experience. I've been working in the nonprofit world for almost 10 years now, and it has been the most gratifying, enlightening, and humbling experience of my life. It will be hard for me to transition from working in a place where the mission and focus is on people instead of profit. That being said, one of the chapters in this book is very interesting and telling about the charity world. Viola shares a story about Gabe's store. Gabe is a kind man who owns a store near the apartment where they live. Gabe gave them food loans when they were struggling. He even lent them money sometimes. Viola also mentions that the need was so great that at times of deep desperation, Gabe's store was also the place they will have to steal from. She shares that the relationship with Gabe's store was, quote, filled with love and appreciation, mixed with the shame of having to cling so desperately to his willing kindness, which was all too often a lifesaver. When you're clutching to live, morals go out the window. This quote made me think about my work. The recipients of our services are always so grateful for what they receive, and I'm also sure they must feel just like Viola describes here. We need to work harder so that our world moves from a place and system of charity into an incubator of possibilities, support, and empowerment so that everyone can thrive. Well, this is my review of Viola Davis' Finding Me memoir. There's so much more here. It's such a worth reading. It's such an incredible story. So much that is impossible to cover in a video, but if you like the book, if you read the book, be sure to make your comments here, subscribe if you want more book reviews like this one or any other type of content that will help you live a more fulfilling, joyful, healthy, and authentic life. Thank you. See you next time.